Hello, hello. I think I'm live. Yes. How are you, YouTube? So, this is my first live. Hopefully, you can hear me and see me properly. So, I want to do this live today to talk about how I found my purpose. This is a subject that so many people ask me about because I'm someone who comes from corporate. I was a lawyer and now I do what I love to do. And so many people ask me about my journey, how I managed it, what I went through, how I discovered my purpose, because I know this is something a lot of people struggle with and want to uncover, but like don't know where to start. And so I thought, let me tell my story, how I did it, how I uncovered my purpose, and take you on a bit of a journey actually about like what happened for me, why it was important, the mistakes I made, and what I've learned so that I can share some of that with you. So I'll start by saying I am really biased. Like for me, if you're not living your purpose, I see it as a bit of a wasted life. I think, according to the Hindu tradition, I'm a Hindu, so according to the Hindu tradition, your soul is actually born into this earth to, it has a dharma, it has a purpose, it has work that it's designed to do, meant to do. And if we don't live that purpose, and I really believe this and I really feel this, if we don't live that purpose, it's a bit of a wasted life, right? And that soul will die, and then wherever it goes, it's going to feel like it didn't actually come here to do what it was supposed to do. So I've always felt that really, really strongly. And it was really important to me. For some reason, it was really important to me always to not only uncover my purpose, but live that purpose. I always used to feel like, how will I go back, right, to wherever we go when we die, to meet God or whoever you think of when you think about your life ending? I always used to think, how will I go back and face my maker if I don't actually do what I came here for, right? I've been given certain talents and gifts, challenges as well, which if I don't, I don't know, if I don't actually make the most of them, what is the point, right? What is the point? So I think I'll start off with telling you kind of how it went wrong for me, where it went wrong. The mistakes I've made, and then how I course corrected and then figured out my purpose. So I started off there was like a pre-18 stage, and you might be able to relate to this, right? So coming from an Indian family, an immigrant family, pre-18, I'd say actually pre-16, no, pre-18, there wasn't that much pressure. Like, I did go to school and I had to be academic, and I was, but there wasn't that much. I wasn't really thinking too much back then about what I wanted to be when I grew up. Because one thing I knew was in the UK, you can study any subject, you can do any degree, and pretty much, unless it's medicine or something very specific, you have the option of figuring out what you want to do later. So pre-18, I didn't really feel too much pressure. I kind of did what I enjoyed. I chose GCSEs and A levels that I really loved, and I excelled. I did really well. I loved humanities, so I pursued those subjects. And I remember when I got to 18 and I had to choose my degree, that for me then started to feel quite serious, right? It started to feel like, okay, now is the time I need to find something that's going to get me a job. So again, this came from, I don't even know if I was told this specifically, but it came from family conditioning. It came from being the eldest child, a lot of pressure, feeling like um, I had to find something which I was going to succeed, right? My family had taken so many risks and there'd been so many sacrifices made for me to be in the UK that at that point, I don't know, something about it just started to feel quite serious. So I did the usual thing that a lot of us do is think about, okay, well, what do I kind of enjoy and how can I kind of be successful at it? And at the time, I didn't want to narrow myself too much. So I was like, okay, you know what? I don't want to be a doctor. I knew that. And I hadn't chosen the A levels for like any of the science stuff. Uh, I don't know what else I want to do, but business sounds quite cool. So I decided to do a management science degree. I thought it's general enough. I can figure it out later. Let me do a management science degree. So I did management science, went off to Manchester, kind of had a great time, loved it. Awesome social life, but really didn't enjoy the degree, right? Really didn't enjoy the learning part of it. And actually, that was the first time in my life where I studied something I didn't really enjoy. So that was probably a bit of a red flag, and I should have noticed that that was a problem, but I didn't. I kind of shut down my intuition. I shut down what I was feeling, and I think that was actually probably the start of me doing that. Um, that was probably the first time where I chose something I didn't really want to do, but I thought, you know what, the bigger reason, the bigger justification is I'll get a job and it'll pay the bills and I'll be happy because I have lots of money. And when I have lots of money, that will solve all my problems, right? Obviously, that wasn't the case, but that's how I thought at 18. So I went off to Manchester, did my management degree, then came back and graduated and got to 21. And I thought, okay, don't want to be a management consultant because at uni I'd got a flavour of what that might be like. I don't want to be an accountant. A lot of my colleagues or fellow students and friends decided to go into accountancy. And neither of those things really actually appealed to me because I thought, God, they're just so corporate. I don't want to do that. I kind of always knew inside of me that I wasn't really a corporate person, right? I wasn't really designed to be someone who was meant to be corporate, meant to be super sort of buttoned up. I was always a bit of a free spirit. And even the subjects I chose at university, they were really creative, they were really artistic. I loved discussion, I loved philosophy, I loved artistic stuff, I loved dancing, I loved performing, I loved all of those things. And I just thought, I don't really see myself in a corporate career, but I am, you know, academic and I have to sort of succeed. I have to do really, really well. So at 21, I sat down and I thought, you know what? I don't want to go into what I was supposed to do according to my degree. What else can I do, right? And I did the classic doctor, lawyer, engineer, accountant, pick one. And out of all of those choices, I thought, you know what? I love writing. So let me just go into law. I'd watched at the time Ally McBeal. I'm revealing my kind of age now. I watched Ally McBeal. I'd seen other shows on TV, and I honestly thought that's what law was like. Like I went into it not knowing what I was getting into. And do you know, it's really weird. I think at the time I was just telling myself, if I make the money, I'll be okay. If I make the money, that will kind of solve all my problems, and I'll just have the money. So even if I don't enjoy it, it'll be okay. And that came a lot from, and you might be able to relate to this too, it comes a lot from family conditioning. Because for us, especially if you're Indian or from an immigrant background, a lot of us were raised to sort of believe that money is everything, survival is everything. If you have money, if you're surviving, you'll be okay, right? Because for our parents' generation, being able to think about purpose and being able to meditate on that and luxuriate in that just wasn't an option, right? They had to survive, and for them making money was everything. If they had money, it was their survival was guaranteed. So they were, if you think about it from, I've talked about the chakra system and I'm going to relate it to that now. Our chakra system, the first chakra is the root, right, which is at the tailbone. So if you think about survival and you think about the root chakra, our parents' generation, if you're an immigrant, was stuck at root chakra, stuck at survival. Okay. And often the biggest concerns of our parents' generation and the generations even before that were, I just need to survive. How can I survive? Because actually, if you can't eat, you don't have time and energy to think about purpose. You need to provide for your needs. Okay. So I was raised with this idea that if you have the money and your bills are paid, you'll survive, you'll be okay. So fast forward, so I chose this legal career, studied law at law school, and then went into law. And my thinking was, I'll make the money, I'll enjoy the lifestyle, whatever. The work is whatever the work is. It'll be fine. I'll survive, and it won't bother me. And it did not work out like that. It wasn't like that for me at all. In fact, I remember when I studied, I tried to get a training contract. And I remember the first time I went into the city, I remember walking into the city for the first time. I got off at St. Paul's Station and I walked out of St. Paul's Station. And I just remember being surrounded by these really big grey buildings, people in suits. And I got this really big sinking feeling in my stomach, right? I was like, oh my God, what is this place? And is this my future, right? I ignored it, right? I didn't really pay attention to that feeling because I thought, it's fine. It's fine. It's probably just me being nervous. It's my first day at work, whatever, and I'll get used to it. So I started working as a lawyer, and pretty much from the beginning of my legal career, I knew it wasn't me. I would go to work, I had no real interest in what I was doing, right? I had no real connection to the work. At times, it would be slightly better, and I would slightly be interested in it. But the majority of the time, what I was doing, I just didn't feel like I was making any real difference. And that was really important to me. I didn't feel like I was contributing. I didn't feel like what I was doing was, I don't know, adding any value, right? Adding any value to the world. And that was something that, despite me sort of trying to shut it down, I've actually got a tea here, so I'm actually going to drink my tea while we're talking. Despite me thinking I could shut that part of me down, every day I went to work and every day as I went to bed, something inside me was like, you know what, this is not it. This is not what you're meant to do. There was a voice inside me that just kept saying, you know what, this is not it. This is not it. Like, this is not the life you're supposed to be living. You're meant to be doing something different, right? And now, some of you might be living that reality now. Some of you might be in that space now where you're doing something you don't really enjoy, you don't really feel connected to, and there's a voice inside you that's saying, you know what, this isn't it, this isn't it. And I'll be honest, it was a really annoying voice. It was really frustrating because I wanted to just carry on. I wanted to blindly carry on and hope that it would go away. I wanted it to get better. I actually wanted my intuition to not be as strong. I wanted to be like other people. I used to think to myself, how come no one else is feeling like this? I talk to friends and I'd say, do you enjoy your work? Like, is this fun for you? And people would say, you know what, just get on with it. It's fine. Maybe they enjoyed what they did. I don't know, right? Who am I to say? But I struggled to meet people who felt like me, who felt the way I felt, that real dissatisfaction or this real feeling inside of me that something isn't quite right. And when I talk to people, they would suggest working with like a career coach. They would suggest maybe, oh, you work in a law firm. So maybe it's just the law firm environment that isn't right for you. Maybe you should try working in-house. Okay. And so I was like, you know what? I've put so much into it. I'm really going to give this a go. So I tried going from a law firm to in-house. I worked in-house. It was okay. I'm not going to say I was like I hated my life, but still that voice inside of me just didn't go away. Something inside of me was like, this is still not it. Like, you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing. Okay. So that was obviously really frustrating because I was like, damn it. I thought by shifting environments, that would make it better. And then I tried loads of different types of law. I went from banking to, corporate stuff to banking in a firm, working for banks, doing transactions for them. Then I went in-house, working for a bank, doing more retail finance type stuff. So I thought maybe I'd enjoy that more. I did a little bit. Then I went back into another bank and did sort of more what we call prime brokerage stuff, but I did some of that. I thought that might be a bit more fun. Maybe working in Canary Wharf, just being around all that newness would be great. Long story short, I did all of these things and that feeling just wouldn't go away, right? To the point where If you're struggling with your purpose and you're thinking it's taking you a really long time, it took me 15 years to figure it out. Okay, it took me 15 years. Um, and at this time of my life, you know what was really interesting? What I was doing to compensate because I wasn't happy, I would shop loads. I'd spend all the money I had to try and make myself feel better, right? To justify having to work in this environment that I didn't like, I would spend loads of money and hope that that would kind of make me feel better. So it's like a temporary fix. I'd find a temporary solution to something that, at times, to be honest, I didn't really want to look at. I was like, this is too big a thing. I've made this big career choice. And if it's wrong, how do I change that? Or what do I even do? Where do I start? Right? It felt like starting all over again, which I really didn't want to do. So I tried everything to avoid it. I would, like I say, overspend. I would go out loads. I would. I was always shopping. I was always out. I was always planning my next holiday. Um, I was always kind of trying to shut down that voice inside of me that knew better, knew more, like that was kind of bugging me, that was telling me that this was not it. I was always trying to shut that voice down. Um, I was just constantly trying to avoid myself, actually, and my own intuition and what it was telling me. So, but there was a side of me as well that was curious, and there was a side of me as well that wanted to fix this and sort this out. Because I remember thinking, as painful and as bad as this is now, and this started in my kind of mid 20s, I thought I have a really long working life ahead of me. And if I don't enjoy it, I kind of can't continue on this path for so long. Like I can't keep doing this till I'm in my 60s or whenever it is that I retire. And if I don't fix it, everything else in my life just won't flow because it wasn't flowing. Um, I remember my friends, some of them are probably listening to this and thinking, God, they remember me at that time. I was like such a misery. I'd always complain how much I hated my work. I hated my life. I had no freedom. I had no control over my day. I remember going into the office at times and being told, so you have to stay here all night tonight. You're going to have to work till 3 in the morning. Or sometimes it was like, you don't even know when you're going to leave. So not only was I doing something I didn't enjoy, I had no control over my time. I had no freedom, and I didn't care about what I was doing. Right. So all of those things just made for such an unhappy combination for me because I so valued my freedom and I so valued doing work I cared about. So something inside me then shifted when I got to about 30. Something inside of me shifted. I had a big personal issue crop up, and that coupled with me not liking my work, I was like, you know what? It's time now. It's time now for me to really figure this out. And I'll be honest, I felt really alone. I felt like I was the only person on this journey. No one else I knew seemed to care or seemed to understand it. Friends were getting married, so they were focused on that and building families. And I didn't want to do that. Like, I wanted to figure out what I'm here to do. It felt so much more important to me than temporarily covering it up with like getting married or having children, which I knew would just distract me for a few years, but this question would always come back. So I got really committed to finding out what my purpose was, and I started to meditate. So I remember the first time I sat down to meditate, I'd never done it before. I'd read loads of books that said, you know, start meditating. This is before it became cool. But something said to me, you know what, you need to go within. No amount of shopping, no amount of holidays, no amount of drinking, no amount of partying, whatever I was doing, no amount of that's going to distract you from this thing that you really, really need to figure out. Like, your soul is desperate for you to figure this out and is desperate for you to do what you're here to do. You're here to do something important, like figure that out and do it. So I went within, I started meditating, and I at the time was someone who was very, very like scientific, legal, evidence based. Like, I needed to see the results of something for me to believe in it. And I kind of feel like the universe played a trick on me at that time. So when I sat down to meditate the first time, I remember sitting, I lived with my parents at the time, and I sat down and closed my eyes. I didn't really know what I was doing. But I felt this spinning inside my, what I now know is my solar plexus. Okay, I just felt this like spinning of energy. Kind of freaked me out. I didn't know what it was. And I opened my eyes and I looked down and I was like, what is that? Like, what is there something there? It felt like a washing machine was going off inside of me. Um, and I looked down and I couldn't see anything, right? And so I thought, that's so weird. That's so weird. Like, what is this thing inside of me that's spinning round and round? And the reason I'm telling that story is because it was the first time that I became aware that there was something more than what I can see, more than what I can. Um, there's something more out there than this physical world, right? There's something more out there. There's something bigger out there than what we can see, what we can touch, and what we can see, right? There's an energetic world um, that I had kind of experienced, but this was like the strongest thing. So going back to my purpose, there's something shifted in me then from that point, right? The moment I started to go within. Um, yeah, that was the biggest, that was the biggest shift that happened for me, that the answer to what you're trying to seek, right? This answer to your life's purpose, you're not going to find it outside of you. You're not going to find it by distracting yourself. You're not going to find it by overspending. You're not going to find it by going on loads of holidays. You're not going to find it in the superficial things. It lives inside of you. And to find it, you have to go within. So I started meditating. Really enjoyed it. People would say to me, we love your energy. Can you teach us how to meditate? So that became a bit of a thing, and I started doing that. But this question of purpose still didn't go away. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to try every single thing that kind of lights my fire. I'm going to try it, and I'm going to see what happens. Right? I'm going to give it a good go. I'm just going to try it. So as I started meditating, I found myself being guided to various things. Yeah, various things. So something in me was like, you love, you really love like performing. You really love speaking. So I thought, okay, what can I do? And this is before things like influencers were a thing, right? People weren't really doing that back then. So I thought, you know what? I'm going to go and have a radio show, right? I'm going to find a way to perform, speak to people, but also offer and share what I know. So I started a radio show, and it was called The Big Dream, and it was on a local radio station called Westside Radio. It took a lot of courage for me to do that. It took a lot of, I don't know, I really went against the grain, right? And I really tried something, being okay to fail. So this is the first thing the reason I'm sharing all of this and this story about how I and why I did it and all of that is because if you're someone who's thinking about your purpose and you're not sure what it is, the biggest thing that's going to get in your way is being scared to fail, being scared of picking the wrong thing and being scared to fail. And I made a decision to myself at the time that I'm going to try everything. I'm actually not going to care what people think about me. Because a lot of people thought I was crazy. A lot of people thought I was mad. A lot of people thought, what is she doing? She's a lawyer. You know, why is she trying to start a radio or be on a radio station? And a lot of people I felt were judging me for whether or not it was a success, right? And I had to kind of shut that down and put that aside and just kind of carry on. So I did the radio station. It was a great experience. Probably helped me. That experience has probably helped me now. Like Steve Jobs says, when you do something in life, you don't know why you're doing it. And if it doesn't succeed, which did it succeed or not, doesn't actually matter. Steve Jobs says, when you look back and you join the dots of your life, you'll understand why those dots led you to where you are now. And so at the time I did it, it was fun, but I didn't really enjoy it. Yeah, I didn't really enjoy it. Something about it. I was like, it started to feel like a chore. The people I spoke to were amazing. I, in fact, remember interviewing the founders of Brewdog before Brewdog became so big, right? So I interviewed some really interesting entrepreneurs. It was called the Big Dream Show. And so it was a really cool thing to do, but I just wasn't loving it. I wasn't loving it. So I decided to walk away from that. Carried on meditating, carried on working on myself and my energy. And then I was guided to start a business. Okay, so something was like, you know what, you love business, you love entrepreneurship. And I'd been inspired by all these people I'd spoken to. So I started a business. I put two things together. I put together fashion, I put together business, because those were two things I loved. And I started a fashion business. And I'll be honest, at the time, I thought if I just follow my passions, I'll figure it out. Yeah, if I just follow what I enjoy, that's enough to figure out my purpose. Wrong. Wrong. Okay, wrong. And I really covered this in my Life Purpose Mastery course. And I think that, like, what I've learned and what I've put into that program is, yes, your passion's important. And this is such a common misconception. Yes, your passion's important, but following your passion blindly without so many of the elements is a recipe for disaster. And that's actually what happened. So I started this fashion business, and it was again successful. You know, I imported scarves from India. I would go out there and do trips there. But ultimately, it just came back to the same thing. Like, I did not find it interesting enough long term, right? I didn't find it interesting enough long term. And I'll be honest, I thought there was something wrong with me. You know, I thought maybe I'm just destined to be a failure, or maybe I'm just destined to be someone who gives up on things when they get too hard. Looking back now, I know that wasn't true, right? I just know I hadn't really found my thing. So you can imagine what happened for me along that journey, right? I was trying things, I was failing publicly, um, failing to my family. They didn't see it that way, but I felt like I was. And I felt like, I always used to feel like, why is it so difficult for me? Why is it so difficult? Why do other people have it figured out and I don't? How come they all know what they want to do and I don't? But I was always someone who also didn't give up. Okay, so I walked away from the fashion business. And fast forward then to a few years later, I then decided, actually, because that question didn't go away, that feeling didn't go away. I went back to my legal career for a bit, started to enjoy it a little bit more, but I knew it still wasn't it. So fast forward, that feeling didn't go away, that question didn't go away, that my soul was like, you're not living your purpose, right? You are not living your purpose. And until you do, you're not going to be happy, right? You're not going to be happy. And you can imagine, by the way, the amount of pressure I was under as a woman, to be married, to have children. You know, I was in my late 30s, or mid to late 30s. There was a lot of pressure on me to do the traditional, conventional thing. But I was like, if I go and get married now, I'm going to take all this unhappiness into that relationship. I don't think I'll be a great mum because I'll constantly be asking these questions, and I don't think I'll be able to be there for my children, right? So anyway, fast forward, and I decided I was going to be humble enough to get some help, right? I was going to be humble enough to get someone to help me with this problem, which I couldn't fix. And I decided to work with a coach. So this was a pivotal thing for me. This was such a pivotal shift because, okay, so I decided I was going to work with somebody, but I also decided that no matter what happens, I'm going to invest in coaching. I'm going to invest in someone to help me, and I'm not going to stop until I've figured it out. Yeah. So I was so ready. I was just so ready to fix this problem in my life that I was going to throw everything at it. And the reason was because I'd known the pain of not having the answer, and I was determined to fix that. So I hired a coach, and truly it was at that moment that things changed for me. So I hired a coach, and when I worked with this coach, I was very intentional about who I chose. I chose a coach that, first of all, had been on this journey, right? So it's really important if you're in the same place, you're thinking about finding your purpose, you've got to find somebody who's been on that journey, right? I have people come to me sometimes and they're like, oh, I want to figure out what it is I'm supposed to do with my life. And I say to them, I say, well, join my program, join my, you know, come and work with me. And some, obviously, lots of people have, but some people have decided not to go forward, which is fine. They've then gone off to and worked with a career coach, right? And this is one thing that frustrates me, if I'm completely honest. Like, they go off, they work with a career coach, and it's usually somebody who hasn't figured out their own purpose, right? They haven't gone on that journey themselves. And what a career coach will often do is encourage you to find another job that makes you feel slightly better, right? And so you can work with a career coach if you kind of know that you want to change career, you want to go into something different. But honestly, the answer lies in a place that's much, much deeper than that. The answer lies inside of you. It lies inside of your spirit. It lies inside of your energy system. It lies there. And if you don't go there, you're never really going to figure it out. So I've had people come to me, they go off to work with a career coach. The career coach pushes them into a direction that's not right for them. And then years later, they'll come back and say, you know what? I worked with this career coach. She then, or he, yeah, she or he encouraged me to go and get another job. I didn't enjoy that job. So now I'm back and I want to figure out what it is I'm here to do. So I was really careful about not working with just a career coach. I was really careful about who I chose. And I chose a coach that had been on the journey. She'd figured out her own purpose. She loved what she did. She was very wise. And we together were like, you know what we're going to do? We're gonna actually just focus on what gives me joy. Yeah. So I went on this journey and I was like, okay, fine. So all I'm going to do this year is, and I gave it a year, I was like, all I'm going to do is focus on what gives me joy. And I'd had this meditation experience. I'd started to become an expert in the chakra system. My intuition was really strong, but I was still working as a lawyer and still not enjoying it. So we started working together and I was trying all these other things. I was like, oh, maybe I'll try script writing because I like writing. Maybe I will, maybe my thing is writing. I always, for some reason, thought it was writing. Tried doing that, signed up to a course. Maybe it's this, maybe it's that. I tried all of these things. And then one day, in the course of our sessions, I was just like, because what I would do is I'd finish my sessions with her, and then I would go and tell everyone about what I was doing in my sessions, right? I was so passionate about it. And we then together were like, you know what? I said to her, I said, I love what you're doing with me right now. I love this process that we have together. So you know what? I'm going to go and do the coach training just for fun, purely for fun. I had no intention of becoming a coach, no intention. I just wanted to do it for fun. And I knew this was my year of just having a bit of fun because I'd obviously been trying so hard to figure out my purpose. So I went off and did the coach training. And when I was in the room, everything kind of fell into place, right? Everything fell into place. I loved the training. I loved being a coach. I felt like for the first time I was surrounded by people who truly were like me, truly understood me. And despite me not wanting to really be a coach, because I thought as a lawyer, being a coach is a bit, I had these misconceptions about it. Everyone in the room was like, you are a born coach. Like, you have to become a coach. There's no question about it. You have to get into coaching. I still had a lot of resistance and actually had to work through that with my coach. I had to work through that process with her because had she not been there, had I not been working with her, I actually would have given up at so many points along the way. I would have probably not even signed up to the training because something in my mind would have said coaching doesn't pay. Not true. I would have probably, had I gone on to the training afterwards, I probably would have given up on it and thought, this is not it, right? Stick to being a lawyer, stick to something that's going to make you money, right? There was a voice in my head that was constantly playing that me and my coach helped to kind of unravel. So my biggest piece of advice, and this is why, you know, when I talk about my program, it can sound like, oh, okay, she's just saying that because she wants to enroll people or whatever. But you know what I do? I actually do want to enroll you for the course, because the reason it's such a powerful program is because I learned that unless you have somebody you are accountable to, unless you have somebody you're working with who's been on the journey, who knows the truth, who knows what you're really going to, who's going to guide you to what you're really here to do. Like, I won't help you find another job, just like my coach. She didn't encourage me to find another job. She was like, let's figure out what your true purpose is. Okay, let's figure out what your true purpose is. And there's such a big difference between the two. Right? There's such a big difference between the two, between, I don't know, just again, it's finding that temporary solution or finding what you're truly here to do. So anyway, fast forward, did the coach training, became a coach, and I thought my problems were solved forever. Well, honestly, it even went deeper than that. So you see lots of people who become life coaches, and it's awesome. Go and do a coach training. I think everyone should. I think being a coach is a great thing. But even when I started coaching, I think actually at first I was coaching, and I was a bit like other coaches out there, right? I had to go even one level deeper than that, because I realized that I'm actually not here just to be a career coach, because I could have easily done that. I'm not here to be like other coaches, right? I am here to take people and help people really find their purpose, but to find their purpose using spirituality and the principles of spirituality, right? To help people find their purpose according to their soul, because that's what I learned, right? And for people to find what they're here to do by using the wisdom of the chakra system and spirituality. Because why do I work with the chakras? Why is that related to purpose? When you live your purpose, right? And when your energy system, when it's in line, almost your purpose is revealed to you. Your purpose will come alive. So sometimes, like, there's meditations I've got in the program, in the Life Purpose Mastery program, and I'm going to link to that, to this live. So there's meditations that I get people to do. And when people listen to those meditations, they'll say, I listened to this meditation and my purpose was revealed to me. I uncovered my purpose by listening to this meditation, because those meditations are designed to allow you to have the realizations that I had when I worked on my energy system, when I meditated, but also when I worked with my coach. So I tied it all together to bring that process and to turn it into something that can help you too. So the chakra system, when we get deep, when we connect to who we are, and we work through our energy centers, not only do we develop the confidence to follow our purpose, but we also know what our purpose is. Yeah, we can't lie to ourselves anymore. We can't do something that isn't true or right. So I've had some really interesting things happen when I work with people and take them through this process. So it's really interesting, because sometimes people will come to me and say, and often it's those that are from minority backgrounds like me, they'll say, oh, I think I know my purpose. My purpose is property. I really want to get into property. And often I'm like, why? Like, what is it about property that you really enjoy? And usually once we get into the conversation, it's because someone thinks property is going to make them money. And I made the same mistake. That's why when I hear it, I know, is it really property? Is that really the thing you're born to do? It might be, but often there's a true purpose underneath property. There's a true purpose underneath that. And like, I call it a superficial purpose, right? You can find your superficial purpose, which I did as well. Like, I found these superficial things that I thought were my purpose, but there's a purpose under the purpose. And you've really got to get to that. Because when you find that, like me, when you find that, you want to do it for free. You want to offer it to people, whether people are buying or listening or not. You just want to offer it. You want to, um, you just get so much joy from it. Uh, you feel this feeling that I know this is what my soul is here to do. And when you have that feeling, like I just know this is what my soul is here to do. Like for me, this live stream, what I'm sharing here, this is what my soul is here to do. The Life Purpose Mastery Program, I am here to help people not make the mistakes I made. I'm here to make sure it doesn't take you 15 years or 20 or a lifetime. I'm here to give you the shortcut. Like I know I went through that challenge so that I could help other people not struggle in the way I struggled. Right? And remember, think about the impact of all those decisions. Think about the amount of money I wasted when I was trying to make a legal career work. Think of all the holidays I went on that didn't really satisfy me. Think of all the money I spent on alcohol and nights out when really, had I been living my purpose, I wouldn't have done that. I would have probably spent that money, or I actually would have earned that money rather than spent it, right? All the implications that had on my relationships that were destroyed, um, you know, the impact it had on my health, the stress, the lack of sleep, all of those cascading effects, right, of not finding my purpose. It wasn't just about purpose, it was about my life and the impact it had. So if you are serious about finding your purpose and you feel the way I did all those years ago, this is like a heartfelt invitation to join the program, right? Jump on board. If you have questions, I'll post a link to the page where you can sign up. It's the only way I can truly help you. If you really want to find what you're here to do, come on board. Other people have uncovered their purpose by working with me. I care about this so much. Like, if I didn't have to make a living doing what I do, I would probably offer it for free, but I can't, right? I have to survive. And it's important that I charge because we are doing karmic work, we are doing energetic work. And actually, when you're serious about finding your purpose, you will put money behind it. You will actually invest just like I did. The people who invest in coaching, in a program, in support to find their purpose are often the people who uncover it, right? Because they are determined. And there have been so many beautiful stories of people who are a few years behind me who have uncovered what they're here to do. So I've had people who work in corporate, who've stayed in corporate and who've discovered that actually their purpose is to stay and create a better world of work. I've had people who, again, have companies that sell marketing services, and instead of selling marketing services, they are now coaching other people like them to find their authentic voice and confidence. I've had other people who've said, you know what, I work in finance, but now instead of finance, what I'm really passionate about is the law of attraction and bringing the law of attraction and finance together and being an influencer in that area. And I think this then, to tie this up, and I'll end this soon, but this is a really important point I want to make. So what I do and what I learned is that finding your purpose is not about being broke. Yeah, often too people associate spirituality and finding your purpose as, oh, I have to take a huge pay cut. I am living proof, and it's one of my absolute maxims in life, that spirituality equals prosperity, personal prosperity. And if you are truly living your purpose, do so abundantly. It's so important that you do so abundantly, and you're not living your purpose from a place of scarcity, right? If you're truly living on purpose, people are drawn to you like magnets, and they want to pay you because they can sense you're so on purpose with what you're doing. You're so aligned to who you are and what you're here to do. So often when people come to me, they do start side hustles. So if you've got a corporate career, often you will start a little side hustle to bring in some money. And I provide that in the program. I provide mentorship and training for how to start a little side hustle so that you can start figuring out your purpose and start making some money from what you're here to do, but do so as perhaps a side hustle, just like I did. I started part time and I worked part time as a lawyer, and then I transitioned into full time with my business and what I'm here to do. So this is my hopefully my story was interesting. I haven't even taken a sip of my tea from my Canada mug. Shout out to those people in Canada. Some of them are my cousins and friends who are in Canada watching me. Little Canadian mug, as a nod to you. My tea's actually gone cold, but anyway. All I'm going to say in closing is, like, if you really are serious and you want to find your purpose, right, from a deep place inside of you, which is where it lives, don't work with the wrong coaches, don't work with the wrong mentors, don't work with the wrong people. Work with somebody. It doesn't have to be me. Please find somebody who's been on the journey before you. Find somebody who works with a spiritual element. I think it's really important. According to the Hindu tradition, your dharma, your soul's purpose, lives inside of you. It's in you already. We just have to uncover what it is by going deep, getting the mind out of the way, and really getting to your soul. Once we get to your soul, that purpose will be revealed to you. So work with somebody who goes deep on the spirituality, and do work with somebody, because we are conditioned not to make mistakes. We are conditioned to get it right first time. We're conditioned to not have confidence. We're conditioned not to speak up and do what we want to do. And if you don't work with somebody, you will get in your own way, just like I did for 15 years. It only worked for me when I invested in coaching, when I put some money behind it, and when I committed to doing it with a group of like-minded people. Okay, so that is it from me. I hope you found my story interesting. I hope it's been somewhat inspiring. Go and live your purpose. If there's one thing I could say to you in closing, go find your purpose. Your soul will thank you. Your life will thank you. People are drawn to you magnetically when you do. And actually now I don't drink. I've got so much better control of my finances and my money because I'm not trying to plug a hole, fill a gap for something that's not there. I don't have superficial friendships. I am very intentional about who I'm around. I also just love what I do. Hopefully that comes across. I love what I do, you know. I love, love, love sharing this knowledge. And it's what I was born to do. I was born to be a teacher. I was born to share this knowledge. And I was born actually to inspire other people to do so as well. So if you want this, if you want to be like me and do what you love to do every single day, jump on board the Life Purpose Mastery Program. I'm extending my early bird discount. So the early bird discount was due to end tomorrow, but I'm going to extend it for another week. It will be a small group program, and I take people through this process that I went through, but we go through it in 10 weeks. So in that 10 weeks, you will go from being confused about your purpose. You might have an idea, but we'll take you from being wherever you are now, uncovering your purpose. You will find your purpose on this course. And if you kind of know it, it will be either confirmed or denied, and we'll find the real purpose under the purpose. And you'll also be given the tools to start a little business or to start monetizing that purpose, because there's no point finding your purpose and living it if you can't survive. So we will start to uncover how you can and create a strategy and a business plan around how you can turn that into income and monetize that so that your purpose can actually pay for you and help you survive and thrive. God, my hair looks so dry today. But anyway, side note. Join the program. It's fun. You get to hang out with me for 10 weeks. And it's a really, honestly, it's a really enjoyable journey for those that have done it. They loved it. Friendships have formed. We're due to have an in-person catch-up this summer for the first cohort that went through it. So, and I'm running it live this time, but in future cohorts, I won't be running it live. It's eventually going to be an evergreen program. So now you will get a one-to-one session with me as well, but that will change in future. So if you are interested, now is a great time to get on board. We will kick off in August. So once you're on board, I send you your registration documents. I send you some stuff to prepare. for the first call. And as I said, there's an early bird discount for another week. So I'll post that in the chat. If you miss the early bird, that's okay. It's still very reasonably priced. My one-to-one prices are 3 times. They start at 3 times the cost of the course. So it's a very, very cost-efficient way of working with me. And you'll just love it. There's nothing out there. There's nothing out there that works with chakras and energy, coaching, mindset, and neuroscience that is designed to find you your purpose. So this is my personal plea. Come on board. That money that you might spend on a holiday or on shopping or on trying to fill up that hole in you, invest it here, and I promise you, you won't regret it. So that's me. I hope you found my story useful. Feel free to comment, put some notes in the chat for what you liked, what you'd like more of, what else you'd like me to talk about. And I really, really hope I've inspired you, because if I can do it after making every single mistake in the book, so can you. If I can find my purpose after going and barking up every wrong tree in the world, so can you. And let me help you by giving you the shortcut. All right. That's it from me. Hope you've enjoyed my first live. I will be here with other lives as well. Probably I'll do some Q&A lives and some live coaching. So if you're up for being on a live coaching with me on this channel, let me know. You'll get a free session as long as you don't mind it being live in front of other people. Live Q&As and live coaching are coming up. So if you'd like that, put it in the comments in the chat and I will do that for you. Sending you lots of love. Until next time. Bye.